And as you join, if you don't mute, I will mute you. We're going to give about another 4 minutes for people to join.
What is this for?
Michael Gordon, could you mute? Okay, we're at 24. Autumn, could you unmute? What was the number we had registered? I think it was 22, right?
22 was my count on Monday, so it should be everybody.
All right. All right, Janet, the join pace has slowed down a little bit, so I'm just going to get us started earlier.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the Bala Cynwyd Library lecture series this evening on the broad topic of COVID-19. I'm not sure I can articulate the narrow topic. First, a couple rules of the road, and then I'll hand off to Janet Givrahu to do the introductions. So you've been muted on entry, and I'd ask you to stay muted throughout the presentation. You can pose questions. If you take your mouse all the way to the bottom of your screen, a menu bar will appear, and in the middle of the graphics, there's a chat. It looks like a little cartoon bubble. You can post your chat there. I'll do this right now. This is an example of a chat. And if you post your questions there, what we'll do is run through them at the end. I'll read them out, and our guest, Janet Panning, will respond or not, depending on the topic of the conversation. But I will actively mute you if you come off mute, just to make the experience better for everyone else. So with that, Janet, give it
Okay.
over to you.
Hi, I'm Janet Michelson Gvaryahu. In my professional life, I'm Dr. Janet Michelson, a local pediatrician. And I'm also, with another hat on my head, the chair of the programming committee of the board of the Bala Cynwyd Library. And we really wanted in this season to have a speaker who would discuss COVID vaccine and answer the many, many questions that we all have on the vaccines, the availability, that sort of thing. And so we've been very fortunate that the Montgomery County Health Department's interim administrator, Janet Panning, has agreed to speak to us tonight. Ms. Panning comes not from a medical background specifically, but a background in public health. And prior to working for the Montgomery County Public Health Department, she was program director for refugee and other programs at the Lutheran Children and Family Service in southeastern Pennsylvania. So I'd like to introduce Janet Panning, who is kind enough to come and speak to us and let us know what's happening in our county with the vaccine.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michelson, and to the program committee of the library for this wonderful opportunity. And I'd like to commend all of you for having these events. It's just a great service to the community. I stepped into the interim administrator role last May in the County Office of Public Health without a health background, but with a whole career's worth of experience running programs and administration. It's a privilege to serve in the county in this role, in large part because I have over me commissioners, one of whom you know well, that has a strong medical background, who is our driving force behind this effort. And then I have division directors and other leadership within the Office of Public Health that have so many years of experience and beyond that public health dedication to really carry this effort out. Since December 23rd, when we received our first 2,000 doses of Moderna vaccine, I think the division directors and myself have been living and breathing vaccine distribution, the logistics of registration, and we continue to do that to this day. I'm going to start with a screen sharing presentation that gives you a little bit of data plagiarized directly from our weekly press conferences. So if you don't currently watch our weekly press conferences, please do that. They're streamed on FaceTime, and the commissioners give a weekly update with all of the good information. And if you are a regular attendee of those, please just take a rest while I flip through a few slides plagiarized from our weekly press conference, but then I'll get more into the logistics of vaccine and getting vaccinated in Montgomery County. So first of all, let me share my screen. As
Looks good,
I'm sure,
Janet.
yeah, it's good. Okay, I'm sure that all of you know that we're commemorating in a dubious way the 12-month anniversary of finding out about COVID. So here we are. This is a great slide to show you, remind you of what we've been through, all of us together in the last year. Here we were back in March, where we were just getting our first cases. The yellow line is the long-term care facility 14-day average. Do you remember when we had so many cases in the long-term care facilities? And our 7 and 14-day averages we thought were so high in April, we thought we had peaked. And then we settled down throughout the summer. It got colder. People started gathering indoors, and the holiday season was upon us. And of course, we got the terrible surge in December and starting in November, and that takes us down to where we are now. Just a close-up of that horrible time that many of us would like to forget, when the cases just started going up and up. But of course, we're grateful that the long-term care facilities went up a little bit, but basically have stayed pretty flat, while the rest of us have gotten cases. And the gray lines behind are the total number of positive cases for that day. This is again is the year showing the number of tests and the 14-day positivity rate. We started out with only a few, and we reached our peak of tests in December. We still had capacity to do a lot of tests, but now the demand is probably about 200 a day instead of close to 1,000 a day. Of course, everybody wants the vaccine and not a test. This red line is the 5% positivity rate. And we're trying to get below that 5% positivity rate so that we can consider that the virus in our community is suppressed. And I think we may have hit that today. I know that on Wednesday, we were about at 5.05% positivity. And so we're making lots of progress. Our daily positivity rate goes up and down, of course, and then the 14-day positivity rate is what is a more stable measure of that. And in fact, it's sort of interesting to note that in Pottstown, we do twice a month summary of testing in Pottstown. Pottstown actually is way below that 5% right now for their 14-day average. So it's somewhat regional even within our county. This is our weekly update. I have one from not this week, but previous one, but you can see this in our press conferences that gives you a summary of the vaccine in the county, how many first doses we've received as a county, as our Office of Public Health, how many first doses we administered, how many are left, and it also talks about all providers of vaccine in the county. So as of March 3rd, we had 84,955 partially vaccinated and 42,232 fully vaccinated, 5% of our population. So we're up a bit from that. Now, if any of you have pre-registered to get in line for the vaccine on our website, this section might be important to you. I think now we have about 190,000 that have pre-registered. However, those of you that were proactive enough to pre-register when we first started that survey most likely signed up on every site you could find. And so what we're finding is that if we send out 10,000 invites to people that are pre-registered, probably 3,000 have received vaccine elsewhere. We're also finding that many people have duplicate entries in there. So as of yesterday, we were at number 140 something thousand. So we're making good progress, but we're still only on January 14th as of yesterday. And I believe that 20,000 people signed up on the 14th. So probably by the end of next week, we'll get through the 14th. This talks about the race and ethnicity of who's getting vaccinated. Clearly, the white population is overrepresented. The Black population, Asian, are underrepresented. But take a look at the number of people that put nothing or didn't want to respond to that. We suspect, but don't know, we suspect that a higher portion of that number would be the Black and Asian populations, but we don't know that for a fact. Anyway, it shows, no matter how you interpret this, it shows that we really need to make a concerted effort to bring in populations, non-white populations, Asian, Black, and African American, and we already know that we need to concentrate on bringing in vulnerable populations. So to sign up on the county's website, you would go, first of all, to www.montcopa.org/COVID-19. That brings you to this site here, which is full of lots of data and charts and all kinds of stuff. It also shows you right here the number for our call center, 833-875-3967. They're open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you're somebody that has barriers to technology, you need to say that when you call the call center. And Monday through Friday, if you say that to them, or if you say that you don't have a computer or you don't have internet, they will transfer you to our Office of Senior Services, who has a network of, I think, 3 agencies and 40 volunteers that are pre-registering people by phone. And when your time comes for an appointment, they will schedule you for your appointment by phone. If for some reason you are having trouble after you get your appointment link, or if you have general COVID questions, you can email them to this address right here. And they respond pretty quickly. If you scroll down on this page, you'll see the providers of vaccine in the county. Well, first of all, this is that general information again, if anybody needed it. We also use the language line on this call center. So no matter what your language, you should be able to be served. Now, when I was talking about scrolling down on that first landing page, this is what you would find. You can blow up this map of vaccine providers. It has contact information for the providers. This information comes directly from the state's Department of Health. We don't check it out directly. So I think they do a good job of updating it, but again, we don't check it out directly. We just take it directly from their webpage. But it's a good start if you're just now starting to register. I bet that if we took a poll, 99% of you have pre-registered on multiple sites already. Now, if you go on this page back to vaccine information and click on that, that gets you to our pre-registration survey. And that page looks like this. This is our vaccine page. We have updates. In February, it was miserable. We had snow days. We rescheduled clinics. And this was your best source of information for figuring out when clinics would be and where they would be. Farther down on that page, you'll see our little tally of people registered and first doses and where we are in the dates for when people pre-registered. And then you'll find the two pre-screening surveys. So the only reason we even have to pre-screen and talk about phases is because there's not enough vaccine, right? Because ultimately everybody is eligible to get a vaccine. But until the time when we have enough vaccine, we're trying to prioritize by vulnerability. So following the state and CDC guidelines, we have 2 pre-screening surveys. One, if you qualify for phase 1A because of your occupation, and there's more information on that on the webpage. And the second one is if you qualify for vaccine in phase 1A because of your individual status. That would be people 65 and older, and it's people younger than 65 that have one of the multitude of CDC high-risk conditions. This only shows 4 of them, but on our website, there's the whole list. So if you qualify because of your age or underlying conditions, pre-register on this one. And if you qualify only because of your occupation, please pre-register on the other one. And that's only for the county's vaccine. That's not for all the other vaccine that's distributed through pharmacies, et cetera. Our call center gives us a daily report of the kinds of questions that they're asked. This one comes from Monday, and obviously many people are calling, trying to get an appointment. One of the problems we had initially, we use a state scheduling system called PrepMod, which has been in the news. And one of the problems, PrepMod has a lot of advantages, by the way. It connects directly with the state vaccine registry system. It's easy to use, but it has one huge disadvantage, which is that if you send out a link to PrepMod, it can easily be shared and anybody can use it. So initially we had our clinic swarming with people that had not pre-registered and weren't waiting in line and maybe weren't even eligible in phase 1A. It was a huge problem. We wound up turning a lot of people away. Other people slipped in. but the end result was that people that had pre-registered got stuck on those lists for a while. So we have a patch that solves that problem right now. We have a vendor that's issuing unique tokens that can be 6 to 10 digits long. When you get your appointment invitation by email, you will also get that unique token and a form. You put the unique number in that form, and that gives you access to the appointment schedule in PrepMod. Now, it's a unique token. You can use it once. That means that if you make any mistake trying to use it, if it gets timed out, if you're in a Microsoft Explorer browser instead of a Chrome browser, if you go back on the web page, anything you do wrong, you'll get kicked out and lose your token because you can only use it once. So I would say for every 500 appointments that are made in the system using those tokens, there's 8 to 10% of them that have a problem with their token. And it has nothing to do with intelligence or age or anything, except that it's a clunky system and none of us like it. However, all is not lost. We can reactivate your token. We're telling people to email that COVID-19@montcopa.org and say they're unable to register. And if they send their token number, their name, their date of birth, and their phone number, we will register them by phone. So nobody needs to miss an appointment. Pennsylvania Department of Health also has resources, so I just throw this in here so that you can see some of the things that they have. And that is the end of my PowerPoint presentation, but I'm happy to take some questions. And anything you want to know about signing up for a vaccine through the county, I will do my best to answer, or other questions as well. If I can't answer your question, I will certainly talk to our medical staff that can answer your questions. Thank you.
All right, Janet, thank you very much. That was excellent. And to remind everyone, this session is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and review those slides. And Janet, I'm not sure if you can provide those slides to
Absolutely.
the library?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would be glad to. Should I send them to you, Dr. Michelson? Or I'll send them to Janet.
Janet,
I see a
you're
few
on mute.
questions.
Janet, you're on mute. Janet Mickelson, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay, I can send them on to you then, Michael.
So I'll start taking the questions if that's okay, Janet.
Yeah, actually, Janet, I'll walk through them with you just to make sure that.
Sure.
Yep, there you go. In case there's anything in there that's kind of like, oh, well, let's skip that one.
Yeah, skip the medical ones.
All right, so from Michael, not me, a different Michael. I've heard that the county is only getting a few thousand doses per week, yet we have 180,000 plus registered. I'm not sure registered what. And our county is the third largest in the state. Seems like it will take many, many months to get through group 1A. Thoughts?
I have lots of thoughts on that. And I think that's an excellent question, and one a lot of people look at when they see that we're still on January 14th. First of all, the county currently is getting 4,680 doses of Pfizer each week. That's been the case for the last 3 weeks. We're very grateful for that. And we are requesting twice that many doses, and we have the capacity to serve, at this point in time, 6,000 people a day, which would be 30,000 a week. But we're currently giving the 4,680 doses. We are giving the Pfizer on the second dose on a 28-day schedule. CDC guidelines allow both Moderna and Pfizer to be given up to 42 days at the second dose. we've put Pfizer on the 28-day schedule that we have Moderna on. And that's because we want to be able to accept whatever vaccine comes our way without missing a beat as far as the schedule goes. So they're both on the same schedule. We have 3 super cold freezers that are good for Pfizer, and our hospital partners also have super cold freezer space. So clearly we all need more vaccine. We were happy to hear that the state received Johnson & Johnson and is administering their first 94,000 doses through the intermediate units for teaching staff, starting with the elementary and kindergarten. We think the schools are crucial for getting our businesses up and going and our life back to normal. We think that's a great idea. The state will get twice that much in about 2 weeks from now, and we'll continue to work on the teachers, I believe. But we also think that the Johnson & Johnson is going to be flowing very quickly to more than just the intermediate units for the teachers. We think that we're just on the edge. Maybe in the next month or so, we think that vaccine supply will increase tremendously. So to make a, a long answer shorter, when you see the 180,000 people signed up on our website, know that that number is down to 145 at this point, because we're sending out 10,000 links at a time, because again, so many people have already received vaccine that are showing up on that list. So many people have entered their name multiple times. I myself deleted 6 entries for Mickey Mouse that I think I put in showing people how to use the system. So it's not as bad as it looks, but also the vaccine is increasing, which means that it will go even faster.
Excellent. And as someone who, just as an editorial, someone who works in the technology space that helps institutions communicate and coordinate with their constituents, the volume that you guys are managing on a daily basis is really, really amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next question is, where can I view the press conferences?
You can go to Facebook.
Hold on, I'll
Yeah.
actually, if you do this slowly, I will put it in the chat. Go ahead.
You know, I'm not sure which of the county links it is. I think if you just like Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and then can just go to that site. But I don't know exactly. I think that's it. I can send that to you. I should know. But they are very good. And the data pieces are just so well done. And of course, Commissioner Arkush is amazing, as are the other commissioners.
And Janet, I would imagine there's a link from moncopa.org.
Yes, actually you can see them, I believe, on that website. You can see the old ones, but there would be information on there.
Is it
Go to moncopa.org/COVID-19. And I think there's a box on there that has press conferences recorded on there.
/COVID-19.
COVID-19.
I just
Okay.
went on
So I
to
put
the
that-
Montgomery County, PA Facebook and liked it. And there's a recording of Val Arkush from March 3rd there.
Good.
Okay, I put both the Facebook recommendation and the website into the chat. From Eric, when can those under 65 pre-register? Oh, I like upvote this question.
So persons under age 65 fall into phase 1A if you have one of those underlying conditions. And if you don't have a list handy of the underlying conditions, I could just go to that website, moncopa.org, county.org/COVID-19. Click on vaccine information and go to the county webpage, and you'll see the list of conditions that qualify you for phase 1A as an individual. If you have none of those underlying conditions, and you might qualify because you work in healthcare. So there's a more drawn out explanation of what those occupations are on that same webpage. So it's either through occupation, underlying conditions, or age.
And so I'm going to extend the question. If you don't fall into any of those categories, either when, which I would expect you don't have the answer to, but maybe a different question is, how would I know that it's time for me to pre-register?
So what we're doing as we speak to get away from our clunky token system and the flaws of PrepMod is we're moving to a Microsoft solution that should be up and running, if all goes well, the first week of April. We'll still be in phase 1A the first week of April, and we'll migrate all of those pre-registrations over to this system. But once we get that up and running, anybody of any phase can register and put their information in there, and then we will notify them when it's time for their phase. It'll be I'm anticipating that it will be a much smoother system. Right now, only individuals in phase 1A can pre-register. On our business survey, any business can pre-register, even if you're not in phase 1A, and our medical director is going through and coding them all as far as their phase. But in the individual survey, the survey itself prohibits you from registering on the county system if you're not in phase 1A. But
Okay,
that
so
will
if I
change.
said that
It will change in a
differently,
couple weeks.
yep, if I said that differently, is it April 1, April 15, something like that? You could go to montcopa.org/COVID-19, and you'll have an option to register regardless of your phase, and then proceed from there.
As soon as our Microsoft system is up and running and we migrate all the existing people over so that we keep the integrity of the order that they signed up, then we will open it to the public so that anybody of any phase can put their information in there, and we'll just open up links as their phase becomes
Okay,
current.
and I'm sure you'll publicize that on
Yeah. We're
social
very-
media. And,
Exactly.
And
Yep.
or check back to that website regularly.
Exactly.
Great. Another question, do you get a separate token for second appointment?
No. So everybody that signed up and got a first dose with us should get a direct email link to sign up for the second dose exactly 28 days later. We have the list of everybody that received their first dose. So you won't get a token for your second dose, but you should get a link that allows you to sign up for a time.
And so if you didn't, how many days before that 28-day period expires should you expect that link?
It's being sent out about 5 days before.
And if you don't get it, what should you do?
You should go to the site because they'll have your name on a list. Bring your vaccine registration card and your ID.
Okay. Excellent. Good. Other than supply, what is slowing up the distribution of the vaccine?
I think it's only supply.
Yep.
You could say things like, we have a clunky token system and registration system, but all of that is irrelevant if we have enough supply, because we wouldn't need it. And we have multitudes of partners that are willing to dispense vaccine, and we ourselves can dispense 6,000 a day right now if we had vaccine. So it's all supply.
Okay, thank you. What happens if we get an appointment but are not able to make it during that time/day?
So there's a couple of answers to that, and I apologize that we're in transition. The token that you get and that you'll keep getting until our Microsoft solution is up and running is valid forever, will be valid for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So if you can't use it, the first screen that you get when you put the token in shows you when the appointments are available for. So if you can't use it for those appointment days, hold on to your token and try again the next week when we release some more appointment days and use it then. A bigger question probably is if you schedule an appointment, use your token, schedule an appointment, and then something happens, you have surgery or whatever it is, you can't make that appointment, send information to COVID-19 with your token number, your name, your phone number, and with a date that you are able to make your appointment. We've had a number of people that have gotten like a pneumonia shot or something. You have to wait 2 weeks to get scheduled again. Or maybe you had sudden surgery, who knows? But we have a list of people that will call back and schedule when they're able to make that appointment. You don't get much choice in appointments initially, and we certainly don't want to make a new appointment for you if you decide to go to the movies that day. But certainly if something comes up that warrants it, we will be glad to schedule you at another time.
So if you had to reschedule an appointment, what was the email that you would send it to?
COVID-19@montcopa.org. That's the same one that you would also send an email to if your token stopped working. One secret to once you get your vaccine appointment, we've had a number of people say they got stuck on the insurance page. You can skip that by clicking no insurance and it grays out all the fields. There's a part on that page on PrepMod that requires you to upload an insurance card. And again, this is a state's system, which is actually a national system that the state adopted. And so if you just put no insurance, it will gray all that stuff out and you can move right on without getting timed out.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. There were numbers shown of numbers of Montco residents who have been vaccinated. Does that include folks who were vaccinated in Philadelphia because they work in healthcare there? What about those that are being vaccinated through a pharmacy or mainline health?
So on that chart that I showed you that is also updated at every Wednesday press conference, it has both the number of Montco residents that we at the Office of Public Health have vaccinated, as well as the total number that have been vaccinated in the county by anybody. It's all residents of the county, even though we will vaccinate people that work in the county and live elsewhere. Those numbers, the county numbers, are the ones that show only the residents of the county that have been vaccinated. The ones that show how many we've vaccinated through the Office of Public Health would include anybody that lives or works in the county that we've vaccinated. It's an accounting of all the doses that we've received.
So if I state that differently, it's your numbers are only vaccinations delivered by county or private resources within the county to residents of the county.
That's a good attempt at reframing my convoluted sentence. That is part of that slide. Part of it shows the total amount of vaccine given to county residents by anybody.
Got it.
But there is a part on that same slide that is just the vaccine that the Office of Public Health has received and dispensed. And that
Understood.
includes everybody that we've vaccinated, regardless of where they live.
Okay, so the total on the slide is everybody.
Just county residents.
Yep. Okay, all right. We have a request. Can the Indian Valley Public Library get in touch with you and ask you to do the same presentation to their library?
Absolutely, I live down the street. I love that. I'm sure I would love your library as well, but I absolutely love the Indian Valley Public Library. In
Okay.
fact, if they do a sort and see who takes out the most children's books for their grandchildren, I'm sure I would be at the top of the list.
Okay, so to the person who posted that message, can you please send Autumn, what email address would be available for them to send the request to?
I just put my email address in there.
Okay, great. So there's an email address. Oh, directly to Janet. Okay, yes, you can ask that. You can send your request directly to Janet. It's in the chat. What if you received an appointment, couldn't make it due to surgery, and no longer have the token?
Send an email to covid19@montcopa.org. We can look you up. And again, the tokens are going to be irrelevant in a few weeks. But for now, you can send an email to covid19@montcopa.org and put unable to register in the subject line.
What are you recommending, Janet, to people who actually have had COVID in terms of when they can have COVID vaccine?
So I've heard our medical director, and I think that's a great question, Janet, and I've heard our medical director answer it multiple times. And first of all, you should always follow the advice of your own medical provider. However, if our medical director was your medical provider, what he would say is the reason they have that 90-day window for when you should wait to get vaccinated has to do with the priorities. We want the most vulnerable people to get vaccinated first. And since you already have some resistance, you're less vulnerable. However, because we're so close to everybody getting vaccinated, from the county's perspective,
Oh no.
we're concerned, but you should always check with your own medical provider first.
Okay, that comes to the end of our question. Wait, no, I have one new message. Hold on. Once you have the new system, how will you prioritize people within a given phase? Will it be first come, first serve?
I think that's an excellent question. And when we created our scope of work and contract with Microsoft, we had two absolute requirements. The first one was they had to connect to the state immunization registry, PASIS. And the second one was they had to have a way to import our pre-registration records without losing their order. And they will do that. So we will start with the order that they are in, and they're all in phase 1A, all those 145,000 people. So we will continue with that order once we get into the Microsoft system.
So
would
if I
like
want
to
to
say-
boil that down to one sentence, what's the answer? Sorry.
You're very good at this, I would like to say.
And how would I boil that down to one sentence? How would you boil that down to one sentence?
So I think the question was, what order will people?
I can restate the question.
Yes, please restate the question.
Once you have the new system, how will you prioritize people within a given phase? Will it be first come, first serve?
For phase 1A, it's first come, first serve. For phase 1B, I suspect it will be the same. We're deciding those questions as we speak, but I see no reason why it would be different. I think phase 1B will be much smaller than phase 1A.
Mhm.
And then phase 1C, I think it will be the same, first come, first serve. But again, phase C, 1C and 2, that's when vaccine is so plentiful that
Right.
hopefully we will not need prioritizations.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. There's a follow-up question regarding people who have had COVID. I heard that people who had COVID should not get the Pfizer vaccine, and I think that's a specific statement, not Pfizer, but either Moderna or Johnson & Johnson or something else. Is this accurate information?
I think that's an excellent question, and I don't know the answer to it.
Okay.
I've not heard that question or that statement before, but
Okay.
it's still a
So,
good question.
Janet, actually, Autumn, can I ask you to grab that question, email it to Ms. Panning, and give her time to answer it, and then figure out a way that we would distribute the answer to the participants? I've muted you, so I'm
On
going to
getting
assume,
the Pfizer vaccine.
yeah, this one right here. I'll send it to you in email after, as soon as we finish here.
And I actually just tried.
Can you still hear me? Okay, I had a bit of a freeze there. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, so Autumn, I just sent the question to you on email. If you could send that on to Ms. Panning, give her time to get an answer from her team, and then figure out how we distribute to participants for this call, that'll be great. Okay, question, perhaps I missed. What is your best guess as to when the average middle-aged, no conditions person in Monco will get the vaccine? Thanks. Hey, Carol, again, I upvote that question.
I've heard different things. I'm guessing May.
I'm going with Joe. Okay. So a double question, which I think is tagging on that previous one, but what about phase 1B, for example? I'll let you answer that, Ms. Panning, and then I'll ask the second question.
So is the question, will phase 1B be sub-prioritized?
I think it's about timing. What is your best guess? I'm going to guess that I'm going to try and interpret that and say, what's your best guess for phase 1B?
So let's see. If
It's
we have,
entirely okay to say, I need to check with the team.
I think that our team doesn't even really know the answer to that.
Okay.
What I would like to say is that before they broadened phase 1A, we were anticipating moving to phase 1B the beginning of February. Then they broadened phase 1A, which is fine. There's certainly deserving people that are 65 and older and people with underlying chronic conditions. But that was such a large number, particularly in our county, that we have now probably moved phase 1B back until April. So mid-April. If I'm saying, but I can take it to the.
Which just for the record, is your particular estimation, but implies no promise or guarantee from the county.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to take it to our medical director, but I think that none of us really know.
Right.
But put that on there, Autumn, and I'll put it on him to answer it.
And then the second part of that question is, are college professors considered educators? Oh, sorry, I didn't even read that entire sentence before I started reading it. Are college professors considered educators?
I think the intent of including educators is people that have close contact with children and other people. However, I would like to ask Autumn to add that to the list of questions, and our medical director, who has been our chief judge of all things that have to do with phases, would be able to answer that as well.
Autumn, I'm sending that to you right now. Both of them. And I think the part where I stumbled was, obviously college professors are considered educators. I just wasn't connecting it with what phase you're in. So that does seem to be the end of the Q&A. I'll give another 30 seconds. Does anyone have any additional questions?
I have a question about location. Is it going to be offered more than locations other than the Norristown High School?
We currently have 2 locations. One is the Montgomery County Community College, the Central Community College location, and one is the Norristown Area High School. We have a 3rd location in Willow Grove that's right next to the mall at the old Petco that is ready as we speak, and it's just waiting for a vaccine. In addition, we have, through our Department of Public Safety, a mobile clinic that is making the rounds of affordable housing for seniors developments and working with the staff at those locations to register and vaccinate people. And finally, we're looking for a location in Pottstown, ideally within walking distance of the downtown area, so that we can make it more accessible to people in the western part of our county.
So I tried to summarize that, but I don't type as fast as you talk. In fact, I type really slowly. So we have 2 locations, Montgomery County Community College and
Norristown Area High School. We have a 3rd mass vaccination clinic that's bigger than either one of those, that is right next to the Willow Grove Mall. That's not opened yet. It's all ready to open, but we're waiting to get more vaccine.
opening next to, sorry, the mall.
Yeah, there's
mall?
the Willow Grove Mall. There's a old Petco in a plaza next to the mall that we've taken over and remodeled.
And then a mobile unit.
Our Department of Public Safety has a mobile unit that they're using currently to go to subsidize senior housing developments and vaccinating people on site.
And something planned for Pottstown.
We're in the process of looking at Pottstown to identify a site.
Okay. So I captured that. So I believe that's the end of the Q&A. And yep, nothing else coming up. So before I hand it back to Janet, first of all, I would like to really congratulate all the participants on this call tonight. If you think back to what our first calls were like a year ago, with like background conversations going on and not muting and muting and everything, like this was awesome. Everyone was really good at like staying on mute, using the chat. That was really good. So I appreciate that very much. And Ms. Panning, I'm going to tell you, I've spent most of my career preparing people to speak publicly on, difficult topics, answer Q&A, and I think you did an excellent job.
Well, thank you for that.
The county should be proud. And as a taxpayer in the county, I'm quite happy to have you leading this effort. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You asked nice questions.
So thank you very, very much. I really, really appreciate your coming and speaking to us tonight. And now I guess we have to go listen to President Biden and see what he has to say, getting us more vaccine supply, because it seems to be, the major issue for our county, correct?
Absolutely. Yep, that's the one issue. We'll get rid of all our tokens and registration phases and all that kind of stuff. We'll just get everybody vaccinated. That would be great.
That would be totally amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just wanted to also say before we sign out that our next Zoom for the library, and the last one that we have planned so far, is on the evening of April 8th. It will be one of our favorite speakers, Jerry Francis, who is the head of the Lower Merion Historical Society. He is going to be speaking about a history of racial discrimination and ethnic discrimination in Lower Merion Township. And he is starting, though, at 7 o'clock. Most of these sessions start at 7:30. If any of you have ever been in on Jerry Francis's lectures, they are fascinating. He has photos, he has documentary information, and I think this one should be, quite quite a revealing and interesting and thought-provoking session. I also wanted to say that, despite the fact that our libraries are closed for patrons, our librarians are working tremendously hard to take orders. They're now running a concierge service. And we are hoping that the time will come sooner rather than later that we can actually have in-library hours again. I know that the system is working on this issue as quickly as they can. Remember that our libraries need your financial support as well as your, physical support coming in and patronizing us. And we thank our librarians and we thank our patrons of the library.
Yep, Janet, and as the former fundraising board member, I'm just going to say that point more directly. These programs, the books, the services that the library provides to you, to us, are dependent on contributions from our constituents. And so we hope that programs like this and the other things that the library is doing remind you of the importance of the library in your life and in its community, and you make a contribution to the library.
Okay, remember April 8th.
That's right.
Thank
All right,
you.
good night, everyone. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Ms.
Good
Penny.
night. Thank you.